Hello everyone. So in my last video I spoke about how I treat myself and how that has been a game changer and a key part of the reparenting and inner child work that has helped me a lot. And basically what I said there, the key concept there was that you can rephrase something. Just changing the attitude, you are changing a lot. You're changing the assumptions behind yourself, essentially, the assumptions about yourself. Instead of saying no excuses, you should do this, by implying that if you don't, you're not worthy, you can rephrase that by saying, despite all those limiting beliefs that are popping up in your head, you are free to do it anyways. And this connects to this video, which is you can always rephrase something to make it empowering. In that way, you are empowering yourself. You're talking to yourself, empowering yourself, rather than belittling, shaming, or patronizing yourself. It goes deeper, and the deeper bit is what I just said before. That is the assumptions. You're making implicit assumption about you, the way you're looking at yourself, the way you're treating, the way you're assuming yourself to be is completely different, and it makes a universe of a difference. So this is linked to the topic of this video, which is that there is always an option when you're struggling with something. There is always an option that empowers you. Pick that one. If you're struggling or suffering because of something, there is always an option that phrase and frames your own inner dialogue in a way that is empowering for you. And that inner dialogue is crucial because it's at the core of the reparenting process. And I said it many times, reparenting sounds good. How do you do it? These videos are really great examples of how you actually do it. So, tough lessons that actually isn't so tough at the end of the day is when you realize and frame them in the light of self-love. Essentially, let me rephrase that. When you need to teach yourself a tough lesson, right? When you have been taught, when you've been beaten by life because you need to learn a tough lesson, you need to relearn. And so two things. You can teach yourself that lesson from a perspective of love, starting from love, and you should do that. That is at the core of reparenting and giving love and self and care to your inner child. And this is crucial. So you approach this, you speak to yourself, you teach yourself that lesson from the starting point of love, not from the starting point of you're not worthy unless blah 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 blah. It should never be a test. It is not a test. It is something that comes, it is offered to you from love, with love, because you are love. That is how you teach yourself tough lessons, because that's what they are. Once again, I go back to one of my core values, something I talk about all the time, which is truth. The way you treat yourself is crucial to the way you're gonna feel, to who you're gonna be. It doesn't change who you actually are. It just, the process, the journey is for you to become who you actually are. So you should treat yourself like who you actually are, and you are love. So you should treat yourself with love, because this lesson comes to us as an opportunity, as something that is, as a gift of love, because we are worthy of that love. And if you frame whatever you need to learn in that manner, it makes a universe of a difference. For me, this has always been something that nothing made sense until I learned this. Once I learned this, it was like, now it makes sense. And before, it didn't make sense because it implied that I wasn't worthy unless I proved something and unless I passed some sort of test. There is no test. There is nothing to prove. Fucking nothing to prove or to test. You're worthy of that, and that's because, and that's why you can learn that. That's why you're being offered that. You can always reframe and look at the same tough lesson from a different perspective. It's never just a tough lesson. At least that never worked for me, and I never got to a point where I was like, all right, yes, fuck, I really need to learn that tough lesson. It is a process, so it can be extremely hard, it can be extremely tough, because we're hanging on to something, but whatever we're hanging on is nowhere near as good and as amazing as whatever we are supposed to receive and get to. And so, going back to the title of this video, if you can speak to yourself about something, you can always speak to yourself in different ways. Pick the option. There is always another option, and you always pick the option that empowers you, that looks up to you, that tells you you can learn that lesson because you're worthy, because you're good enough, because you're strong enough, whatever that is. And this can be very difficult if that's not the patterns, if that's not the way we have been conditioned to think about the world and about ourselves. Because in the end of the day, obviously, you'll hear a lot, the outside world is a reflection of our inner world, the way you can manifest, what you manifest inside. That's all very true and great, but how do you do it? And that's the purpose of this channel and this page. This is one great example of how you do it. Things are not being done to you, they're done for you by the universe, by source. But that means that when you need to learn something, you should learn in that way, you should teach yourself in that way, or actually scrap the word should, you can. You can. And it makes a world of a difference. And I briefly touched in this video why it can feel so tough, why the lesson seems to be tough. And that will be the subject of the next video, which will be about denial. I'll catch you guys soon, and have a great day. Bye.